Hey y'all, I am back with another chapter of Will Smith's autobiography, simply entitled Will. So, chapter 10 is called Alchemy. Now, before I start reading, I just want to highlight this aspect pattern in Will's chart. He has a yod that consists of a quincunx to his Mars from Chiron. Then Mars is forming a sextile with Mercury and Venus, and Mercury and Venus are forming a quincunx to his Chiron. So that's a yod, and yods can produce love triangles. And in Will Smith's case, because Mars is involved, that could deal with a love triangle that involves Will, a woman, and another man. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay, chapter 10, Alchemy. Tanya had secured us an apartment in Marina del Rey. She knew somebody who knew somebody, and it was only $1,300 a month. I didn't really care. There were $7,700 left in Bucky's brown paper bag. He had been shot in the head in front of his house. It was a setup. Reggie explained that this was the classic playbook. When the feds close in, everybody turns on each other. I didn't leave the apartment for weeks. Part fear, part exhaustion. I was in shock. My entire life had collapsed. I guess my depressed and debilitated state elicited a divine set of mercy from Tanya. We never really talked about it, but we both knew she was my woman now. And she set upon the harrowing task of breathing my spirit back to life. We spent every moment together. Tanya coddled, comforted, and cared for me. She cried with me and helped me mourn. We would talk for hours. I met her mother and grandmother. She didn't cook, but she could order the hell out of some takeout. We fell in love. I could have hidden in that apartment with her forever. But then after a few weeks, as if some cosmic egg timer had sounded at a frequency just beyond my hearing, but well within her sonic range, this phase was over. Tanya shifted gears like a drunk trucker crossing the Texas panhandle. Okay, she said, that's enough. It's time to get back to life. What? I said, as the cold water of reality flooded our Marina del Rey love nest. You've got to do something, she said. You took a break. That's good. You needed it. But that brown paper bag is almost empty. What are you going to do? What do you mean, what am I going to do? I said, getting agitated. Which part of what are you going to do is hard for you to understand, Tanya replied with equal and opposite agitation. You have to get out. Get out? And do what? Go where? I shouted. I don't fucking know, she clapped back. But whatever it is, you ain't going to find it in this kitchen. Just go. I don't know. Go back to Arsenio. The Arsenio Hall show was the biggest talk show in America at the time. Everybody who was anybody appeared on Arsenio. He was like the Panama Canal of celebrity. All roads to public success ran through the Arsenio Hall show. Charlie had been dragging me there for months. We got to stay where it's happening, he said. Arsenio and I had become kind of halfway friends during the height of me and Jeff Grammy run. We had appeared on the show, and Arsenio had taken a liking to me. Go to Arsenio and do what? I yelled. Arsenio likes you. Go to the show and hang out. Meet people. You sound crazy as shit, I said. So you want me to go to the Arsenio Hall show and stand around like a dickhead might meet somebody? Yes, exactly. So you might meet somebody. I'm not doing this with you. That's dumb. And I'm not in the mood for this shit. I arrived at the Arsenio Hall show at 4:30 p.m. 5 o'clock was showtime. That half hour before was prime mingle time. Charlie Mack was in his world. Yo, man, Eddie here tonight. I'm gonna go grab him, Charlie said. Eddie Murphy was appearing on the show that night. He knew who I was. He kept calling me Young Prince. Arsenio was a lightning rod for magical moments. Many people will argue that Bill Clinton playing the sax on the show solidified his presidential victory. Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, Miles Davis, Madonna, Magic Johnson even appeared on Arsenio 24 hours after his HIV announcement. As I stood backstage, I felt the electrical currents of possibility pulsating and receding. It was like a lush forest with ripe fruit on every tree. The show was a flashpoint, a nexus, a cosmic garden of opportunity that Arsenio knowingly and purposely cultivated. If Tanya had just said that, I wouldn't have been a dickhead. Charlie and I went almost every day for months. His routine was that he would accost famous strangers and drag them against their will to come meet me. I met everybody: politicians, actors, musicians, athletes, executives. Benny Medina was an A&R exec at Warner Brother Records. I didn't know who he was, but apparently Charlie thought he was important enough to be accosted and dragged. Benny had worked under Berry Gordy at Motown. At Warner Brothers, he now oversaw some of the biggest hip hop acts, including Queen Latifah, De La Soul, and Big Daddy Kane. He was about 5'7", stocky build, brown skin, curly hair, rocking hot gear. You could tell he thought he was fly. He knew how to work a room. He was unapologetic, straight down the middle mover and shaker. Benny could smile when it was time to smile, which was most of the time, but he could get real gully if somebody impeded the movement or desires of one of his artists. Hey, Will, this is Benny Medina. Benny, this, the Fresh Prince. You know that though, Charlie Mack said. Benny knew all about my music. We talked for a bit about hip hop and the impact technology was having on the music industry and the future of video on demand. And then out of nowhere, he asked, do you know how to act? Act? You mean perform actions in order to elicit joy and passion from those around me? You mean to warp my perceptions of myself as a means to hide myself? You mean to believe deeply in stories that don't exist, that never existed, that could never exist? You mean to play the role of who everyone around me wants me to be, rather than who I actually am? As a general rule, if someone asks me if I could do something, the answer is always yes. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I could definitely act. Yes, sir. I said, employing too many words. Yes. I figured you could, Benny said. I could see it in your music videos. I might have something to talk to you about. Let's keep in touch. I didn't think anything of it. In Philly, we always clown dudes like this. Being Hollywood is like the worst thing you can be. It's the definition of insincerity. Moments like that happen all the time in LA. I moved on and forgot about it. Yet that quick 3-minute Hollywood chat would turn out to be one of the most important conversations of my life. Benny Medina is the real Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Benny was an orphan who grew up with extended family in the projects of East Los Angeles. Then, as a teenager, he was taken in by a friend's wealthy Jewish family who lived in Beverly Hills. Benny was Afro-Latino and found himself at Beverly Hills High School. He was a good kid, yet the chasm between the two worlds created a constant culture clash that was a combustible source of tension and humor. By the time I met him at the Arsenio Hall show, Benny Medina was plotting a move into television. The universe is not logical, it's magical. A major aspect of the pain and mental anguish we experience as humans is that our minds seek and often demand logic and order from an illogical universe. Our minds desperately want shit to add up, but the rules of logic do not apply to the laws of possibility. The universe functions under the laws of magic. I was in Detroit a few weeks after my Hollywood chat. JL had booked a couple of shows to help us dig out our collective financial hole. The Joe Louis Arena was always crazy. We loved playing there. We were back down to one hotel room. Strangely enough, it was soothing for all of us to be together again in such cramped quarters. Jeff had headphones on making beats. Omar was watching TV. Charlie was cutting his toenails. I hated when he did that. I felt like goddamn Braveheart in there, like I needed a Scottish battle shield and to paint my face blue. None of us knew that this was the last time we ever toured together. JL burst into the room. Yo, get up. Quincy Jones wants to talk to you. Quincy Jones? To me? For what? What did I do? I was still shell-shocked from the last chapter. Did you meet somebody named Benny Medina? JL asked. Yeah, the Warner Brothers dude. Well, he works with Quincy, JL whispered, almost knocking my front teeth out, jamming the phone into my face. I told you, Charlie said. Hello, Mr. Jones, how are you? I said with the tone and diction that would have made my mom, Daddy-O, and Gigi proud. I'm great, sir, thank you. Detroit, yup, Joe Louis. We perform tomorrow night. Yo, man, what he's saying? We can't hear him, Charlie Mack said, pausing his fusillade. Shh, JL hissed. Yo, don't shush me, Jay. I'm a grown-ass man. Will you shut your grown ass up? Jeff chimed in. Sure, I said. When is it? Oh, wow, okay. Well, yes, definitely. I don't perform till tomorrow night. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, I will see you then. I put the phone down slowly, the whole squad staring at me, like I just took a pregnancy test. What? Okay. Quincy Jones wants me to come to his birthday party, I said to myself as much as to the squad. To perform, Omar asked. Nah, him and this dude, Benny Medina, have an idea for a TV show they want to pitch. When do you need to be there, JL asked. Tonight. Quincy Jones' party fell on the same night as the Soul Train Music Awards. He was being honored with the Heritage Award for career advancement, and the birthday after party was being held at his Bel Air mansion. JL got me on a 3:00 p.m. out of Detroit, and I landed in LA just as the sun was going down. It all felt surreal, a little head spinning. I had flown by myself, which was uncommon and uncomfortable. And now as traffic backed up on the 405, I had a moment to contemplate. Why the hell am I driving to Quincy Jones' house? It was about 30 minutes from LAX to Quincy's. When I pulled up, there was valet parking. Quincy Jones had valet parking at his house, 20 red-coated valet parkers in his driveway. It looked like the British were coming. It was right up there with Sue Ellen Ewing's fucking breakfast horse. By the time I arrived, the party was on full bang. Everybody was there, from Steven Spielberg to Tevin Campbell. Stevie Wonder and Lionel Richie were arriving as I pulled up. That was too much for me. I knew I didn't belong here. And right before my fragile self-image convinced me to bounce, I saw Benny Medina, a familiar face, a life preserver as I was drowning in yet another sea of insignificance and irrelevance, etc. Hey, man, Benny called out, you made it. I wanted to say, yeah, man, fuck you, I'm out. But instead I said, yo, man, don't take that jacket off. Trust me, you won't see it again. Benny was wearing one of those Versace Picasso looking jackets. He laughed, tugged at the lapel and said, if tonight goes well, it's yours. Let's go meet Quincy. I just thought that was too fast. Couldn't I at least get a drink first? Or one of them little toast points with some cheese or salmon or something? Damn, you're just gonna rush me to meet Quincy Jones from the driveway? I need to stretch. You're gonna have me pulling a hammy out here. The center of the party was in Quincy's massive living room, 2-story vaulted ceilings and a couple hundred of Hollywood's heaviest hitters and A-list rainmakers. Quincy was holding court, a sorcerer in a designer jacket with a piano keyboard embroidered down the left side. Benny and I enter, and before Benny can make the introduction, Quincy and I catch eyes. Hey, Quincy yells out, the Fresh Prince is here, y'all. That would have been embarrassing if anybody had actually given a shit, but it didn't matter to me because the most important person gave a shit. Quincy is like that. He loves and enjoys people. Every person is a unique work of art to him. He doesn't play celebrity favorites. He genuinely finds something interesting about everybody. Quincy bounds across the room, arms open, and grips Benny and I in a single embrace. Welcome, man, welcome, Quincy gushes. Thank you, Mr. Jones. This house is amazing. I gush right back. Oh, you like this? This is Bel Air. Benny trying to set the show in Beverly Hills. I keep telling him, man, fuck Beverly Hills. Bel Air makes Beverly Hills look like public housing. Did Benny tell you about the show? Well, a little bit. I mean, he told me he grew up in Watts and he moved in with a rich family. Where are you from? Quincy said. Philly. I said with the requisite swag and pride that Philadelphians use to make sure you know that our city is better than yours. Oh man, I love Philly. He leaned in and whispered, I had some things happen in Philly we're not even going to talk about. Then he laughed and nodded, signifying some unspeakable wilder days in his youth. Okay, that's it. It's perfect. Your character's from Philly. Will from Philly. Then he goes to Bel Air. He was back at full volume now. Quincy had clearly been tasting a little bit. I figured it was his house and his birthday and his achievement award. So if he wanted to be drunk and loud, then goddamn it, Quincy, you be drunk and loud. Brandon, Quincy hollered across the room at a 40-something-year-old white guy. The guy seemed low-key, understated attire, but everybody was full attentive while he was talking. Well, until Quincy interrupted him, shouting his name, startling him, and pretty much everyone else. Quincy waves him over. Brandon, it's Philly to Bel Air now. Brandon Tartikoff was the head of NBC and the most powerful decision maker at the network. He decided which shows were financed and aired on the station. He approached with his second in command, Warren Littlefield. Littlefield will ultimately end up running the network. Y'all come meet the Fresh Prince, Quincy said. We all shook hands. They looked at me in a way that I missed back then, but I understand today. It's the look that executives have when tens of hours of conversations have gone on about you behind your back, and they still haven't quite decided if they're going to roll the dice on you. Okay, yeah, can I have everybody's attention? Quincy bellowed. We gonna have an audition. Clear the furniture out the living room. I was looking around thinking, oh, wow, an audition at a party. That's dope. Quincy is the man. I wonder who's auditioning. Get Will a copy of the Morris Day script, the one we're working on, Quincy said. At first, slowly and then painfully, I remembered my name was Will. My father had given it to me. And since he wasn't here and nobody else was moving, reality took hold. Quincy Jones was asking me to do an impromptu audition in front of some of the biggest icons, present and past, in all of entertainment, not to mention the top brass at the National Broadcasting Company, home to The Cosby Show, Cheers, The Golden Girls, LA Law, and Seinfeld. My knees buckled. Couches were being moved and someone handed me a script. I grabbed Quincy's arm, probably a little harder than was respectful. Quincy, no, wait, no, I can't do this now, I whispered in his ear. Quincy looked at me with an unflinching, tipsy joy. Y'all keep setting up, he ordered the room. I'm going to talk to Will in the library. Quincy Jones understands magic. He sees the universe as an infinite playground of magical possibilities. He recognizes miraculous potential in every moment and everything and everyone around him. His superpower is that he has learned to present himself to the universe as a lightning rod, placing himself perfectly to capture and conduct the ever-present, ever-recurring magical flashes of brilliance surrounding us all. Quincy Jones is an intuitive, artistic storm chaser. He can sense the subtle flickerings of the impossible preparing to strike. He prepared himself for decades studying music, playing thousands of gigs, learning from the masters, surrounding himself with the most accomplished performers and artists. Quincy used to say, things are always impossible right up until they're not. He learned how to prepare the environment and invited the energy in. He saw himself as the conductor, both in the electrical sense and the musical definition. His main job was to keep all of us from missing the miracle, from blocking the subtle magical opportunity that was obviously, to him, presenting itself. Gigi had a similar idea. She would say, don't block your blessings. Even though these possibilities are abundantly and perpetually flowing around us, we can miss them, or even worse, block or repel them. Gigi used to love to tell the Bible story of the death of Lazarus. Lazarus was a great friend of Jesus. So when he fell ill and died, Lazarus' sisters, Martha and Mary, were devastated. They had sent word to Jesus, begging him to hurry. Jesus had to walk 2 hot, dusty days from the other side of the River Jordan. He was already exhausted. He worked all week, preaching during the Feast of Dedication. When he arrived in Bethany, Lazarus had already been dead and buried for 4 days. When Jesus approached the tomb, he saw that the rock was still in place at the mouth of the cave, as was the burial tradition of the time. Jesus wept, perturbed, and said, and I paraphrase, so let me get this straight. Y'all made me walk 15 freaking furlongs, excuse my language, to hot daggone Bethany, where Pharisees and Sadducees is running around here like roaches, just waiting for a chance to take a pop at me, to perform the miracle of raising your patriarch from the dead, restoring your family to blessed wholeness and light. And y'all can't even move the rock from in front of the tomb? If I'm going to raise this boy from the dead, the least y'all lazy jokers could do is move the daggone rock. This was an idea that Quincy understood fully. Magic demands awareness, faith. You have to believe in magic. Preparation. Move the rock. We must identify and eradicate the poisonous resistances and impediments within ourselves. Then surrender. Stay out of the way and trust the magic to do what it does. Quincy helped people get their rocks out of the way of the blessed light that's always trying to shine in. The universe wants you to have the miracle. Move the damn rock. Quincy was moving furniture, but he was trying to get all of us, me, Brandon, Benny, even himself, to move our rocks out of the way. Quincy's library was a dark mahogany, high back leather armchairs. I don't know if the rugs were from Persia, but they looked expensive. I don't remember much else about the room because I was blinded by the glare from the gaggle of Grammy, Tony, Emmy, and Academy Awards scattered around the place like butter knives in a Swiss cottage hotel bathroom. A framed poster of Oprah Winfrey's The Color Purple hovered over my left shoulder. Michael Jackson's Thriller sales plaque loomed over my right. 48 million sold. I could have just written the word million, but I wanted you to feel how many zeros that is. I felt Michael looking at me on his toes in the classic Billie Jean pose, as if he were saying, so what are you going to do, Will? I take a seat. Quincy stands in front of me. He'd been here before. This is what he does. He moves rocks for a living. Talk to me, Philly, he says. What you need? Quincy, I'm not prepared to do an audition, I stammered. I didn't know when you called, what we were doing and all that. It's only a couple of scenes. I got some people out there who will read with you. You just got to be you and have fun. Quincy, I cannot do an audition in the middle of a party. I need to prepare. I just need some time to work on it. Okay, I hear that. How much time you need? Quincy asked. I mean, just give me a week and I'll find an acting coach and I could study so I could do it, not just read it. Quincy considered my words. Okay, so you need a week. Yes, a week. A week is perfect. Okay, so you know what's going to happen in a week? Quincy asked. But before I could answer, he said, Brandon Tartikoff is going to have an emergency on one of his shows, and he's going to have to fly to Kansas to fire somebody. Then he's going to have to reschedule for the following week. Oh, cool. 2 weeks would be even better, I said, missing the subtleties of Quincy's point. Right, 2 weeks. Then Warren Littlefield is going to have something at his kid's elementary school that he forgot was on the schedule he can't get out of because his wife's going to tear him a new one if he doesn't show up. And he's going to have to reschedule for 2 weeks after that. Right, I said, slowly starting to glean his point. So a month? Quincy leaned in, eyes crystal clear, suddenly sharp, totally sober. But right now, everybody that needs to say yes to this show is sitting out there in that living room waiting for you. and you are about to make a decision that will affect the rest of your life. I took it in. I looked at Michael, then to Oprah, then looked right back at me. We know, baby, it's hard. What you gonna do, Philly? Fuck it, I said. Give me 10 minutes. I don't remember much of the audition. It's kind of blurry. It's kind of a blurry collage of jokes, laughs, punchlines, and ad-libs. Quincy, then Brandon, Benny, 20 magical minutes culminating in an ovation from the entire room. The applause, like a defibrillator, jolted my awareness back into the moment, reestablishing my mental timeline. Quincy stands up, aggressively pointing at Brandon Tartikoff. Did you like it? Quincy screamed. Yes, I liked it, Q. Brandon said calmly, keeping his cards close to his vest. Don't give me that shit. You know what I'm talking about. Did you like it? Brandon knew exactly what Quincy was talking about. Yes, Quincy, I liked it, Brandon said firmly and confidently. Yes, Quincy shouted, clapping his hands and turning to a point of a different man, who turned out to be Brandon Tartikoff's chief legal counsel, who had been strategically invited to Quincy's party. You, he said to the man who was in mid-mini pizza bite, you're Brandon's lawyer. You heard what he just said. Draw me up a deal memo right now. I was thinking, damn, Quincy Jones got power. That's not even his lawyer. He making other people's lawyers do work on Wednesday at 9 at night at a party. The lawyer looked at Brandon. Brandon attempted to chime in. Quincy, listen. No paralysis through analysis, Quincy shouted. Draw me up a deal memo right now. Brandon relents and nods to his legal counsel, who steps up, exits the NBC limousine, where he would spend the next 2 hours drafting a deal memo. Next, Quincy snaps around with the same aggressive index finger magic wand, only this time it's pointing at me. You got a lawyer? Well, no, not at the party, I stuttered. Quincy spins again, now in full magical conductor mode, wand pointing at a new victim. Get me Ken Hertz on the phone. That's Philly's new lawyer. As a side note, Ken Hertz was in the maternity ward at Cedars-Sinai, where his second daughter had just been born. But when you're a young lawyer with a brand new family and you get a 10 p.m. call from Quincy Jones, and the maternity ward at Cedars-Sinai is 20 minutes from Quincy's house, you arrive in 18 minutes. I met Ken Hertz that night. He represented me in the negotiations with NBC and for every other deal since. He's still my lawyer to this day. He named his daughter Corey. I mentioned that Quincy had been drinking, right? There was no reason for him to be saying everything as loudly as he was saying it. It wasn't that big of a room. We could all hear him perfectly well, but maybe to know he wasn't speaking to our ears, he was bellowing to reach the caverns behind the rocks, simultaneously conjuring and welcoming the magic of the universe. I guess he wanted to be loud enough to make sure that the miracle didn't miss the house. No paralysis through analysis, Quincy shouted again and again. He would intone this mantra nearly 50 times over the next 2 hours. It was the answer to every question. It was the response to every stutter. It was the solution to every legal problem. Until 2 hours later, when Quincy Jones, Brandon Tartikoff, Benny Medina, and Will Smith entered into an agreement to shoot a pilot for a television show tentatively titled The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. And I like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel-Air. 6 weeks earlier, I had been curled up in a ball in Marina Del Rey, lost, depressed, and terrified. And just like that, the universe had given me a new family: James Avery, Janet Hubert Witten, Alfonso Ribeiro, Tatiana Ali, Karen Parsons, Joseph Marcel, James Avery, Uncle Phil, 6'4", 320 pounds, Shakespearean actor, new father figure, demanded the highest commitment to my craft. You're not a rapper here, you're an actor, so act like it. I spent the greater part of the next 6 years seeking his approval. Janet Hubert Witten, the first Aunt Viv, triple threat, singer, dancer, actress, elite on all levels, starred in Cats on Broadway, the conscience of the show, fought tirelessly to maintain a dignified portrayal of African Americans on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. In hindsight, the show suffered after she left. Alfonso Ribeiro, Carlton Banks, acting since 9 years old, The Tap Dance Kid, Broadway, television, film, unflinching ally, great friend. He rode with me no matter what, gave me the best advice ever. Hey man, I hear the producers discussing names for your character. Take it from me. Give your character your name, Will Smith, because people are going to call you that for the rest of your life. Carlton. Tatiana Ali, Ashley Banks, 11 years old and still had more experience than me. Singer, dancer, actress, Sesame Street, Star Search, Eddie Murphy's Raw, performing with Samuel L. Jackson. Would spend her teenage years on set, ultimately educating herself to Harvard University, one of the most disciplined people I've ever met. Karen Parsons, Hillary Banks, the least experienced next to me, beat out a slew of Hollywood big hitters to win her role, was smart enough to tell me, hell no, when I tried to explain that we were not really cousins, so it would be fine if we dated. I swear it won't mess up our working relationship. She knew better than that. Good call, KP. Joseph Marcel, Jeffrey Butler, Royal Shakespeare Company, Globe Theater, Othello, King Lear, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Solly Two Kings, and August Wilson's Gem of the Ocean. Producers of Fresh Prince were torn between him and another actor. My first Fresh Prince flex was I want Joseph Marcel. In Hollywood terms, the conception, casting, writing, deal making, set design, shooting, editing, and airing of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air hovered on the border of the miraculous. Shows don't happen this fast. Everything went perfectly. Quincy's party had been on March 14th, 1990. The writing, auditions, final casting, and deal making was completed by the end of April. Staffing, set design, wardrobe, etc. were completed, and we were shooting the pilot in mid-May. The show was edited and tested in late July. We promoted in August, and it aired on September 10th, 1990. During Virgo season, so the sun was hitting up his Virgo stellium during that time. So there was no paralysis through analysis. And I loved it. I found my thing. The world of acting unleashed all the artistic impulses within me. It was the first external canvas that felt big enough to hold the landscapes of my imagination. My musical expression always felt narrow and constrained by the limits of my skills and talents. Making music felt like living in a great neighborhood, whereas acting felt like being set free in an infinite universe. As an actor, I would get to be anybody, go anywhere, and do anything. World champion boxer, fighter pilot, tennis coach, galaxy defender, cop, lawyer, businessman, doctor, lover, preacher, genie. I would even get to be a fish. Acting encompasses all the things that I am. Storyteller, performer, comedian, musician, teacher. Don't get me wrong, I really like making music, but I love acting. My mom was an avid reader. Her every free moment was spent between the pages of everything from Edgar Allan Poe to Agatha Christie to Toni Morrison to Stephen King to Maya Angelou to Sherlock Holmes and Sidney Poitier's autobiography. She would often talk about a book that spoke to her soul, or she just couldn't put it down. It had penetrated her and transformed her way of seeing or being, but I had never experienced that. I was well into my 20s before I actually read an entire book cover to cover. The Alchemist, a novel by Brazilian author Paulo Coelho, was my first literary love affair. The book spoke to my soul, and I just couldn't put it down. It penetrated me. What a interesting choice of words, Will. And transformed my way of seeing and being. The Alchemist is the journey of a young Andalusian shepherd boy named Santiago. He has a recurring dream of a hidden treasure buried at the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. The dream beckons him so profoundly that he sells his entire flock, gives up his life in southern Spain, and sets out to follow the whispers of his heart to Egypt, to pursue what Paulo Coelho describes as his personal legend, his divine calling, what I think of as his destiny, his dharma. But Santiago's journey is not an easy one. I cheered and feared and jeered every step of the way as he was loved and hated and helped and hindered along his perilous path. I felt like I was Santiago, my hidden treasure buried somewhere under the Hollywood sign. The Alchemist is probably the most influential book I've ever read. It empowered my dreamer spirit and validated my suffering. If Santiago could suffer, survive, and claim his treasure, then so could I. An alchemist is a spiritual chemist, a master of transmutation. The great feat of an alchemist is that they can do the impossible. They can turn lead into gold. This concept erupted in my mind, the ability to take anything that life gives you and turn it into gold. Gigi could take the last half glass of Welch's grape juice and mix it with the last swallow of Dole pineapple juice, throw in some Kool-Aid packets, dice up some lemon and the other half of the orange she was just eating, and swirl it all together with a blast of Canada dry ginger ale, freeze it, and hand you the best damn popsicle you've ever had in your life. This was after you look in the refrigerator 5 separate times and each time told her that there was nothing in there. Quincy Jones is an alchemist, and he had set my mind on fire. I had never met anybody like him. I wanted to be an alchemist too. I wanted to be able to transform anything and everything that life gave me into gold. The universe had given me a second chance, and I swore to God that I would not need a third. So that concludes chapter 10 of Will Smith's book called Alchemy. And yeah, stay tuned for chapter 11. Finally looks like we're getting somewhere with this book. At least we are at his Fresh Prince of Bel-Air days, so it should get more interesting from here. So I am looking forward to it. So stay tuned for chapter 11, and I'm out.